Alright, you and I are about to watch the ultimate flex on day one of a new school. I casually tossed my keys to the guard and told him to park it. Surprisingly, the guard did not get angry at all. In fact, he smiled with pure joy. The reason? Because I was driving a Pagani Huayra Dynastia, a hypercar so incredibly rare that only 3 exist on the entire planet. A girl standing nearby gasped with wide, sparkling eyes, completely in awe of my ride. Welcome to St. Herd's High School, easily the most elite and prestigious academy around. They never officially called it a school for nobles, but every student here came from a powerful family line or was just filthy rich. Naturally, she recognized my car instantly. She tossed her expensive designer backpack to her friend and confidently marched right over to me. She gave her friend a quick hand signal that basically said, "Target number 18 is mine, back off." But as she got closer, she froze, her eyes widening with shock. She realized this guy was actually incredibly handsome. Serena Song. I glanced at her and casually said her name out loud. I had already memorized every single student file for class 11A3. Hearing her name like that made her pause, before she quickly flashed a very confident smile. She laughed, asking how I knew her, then claimed I looked exactly like one of her dad's relatives. Now, watch closely as I hit her with a deadpan look. "You are pretty brave hitting on me in a crowd on day one. Gutsy," I smirked, my eyes filled with mischief. "Do I look like your dad's son-in-law?" That quick counter completely broke her focus. Even as a master flirt, she could not help but get totally flustered. Her face flushed, bright red as she laughed, asking if I was soda in a past life, because meeting me made her bubble with pure joy. "Is that so?" I easily shut down her cheesy line. Having 2 of her moves blocked back-to-back made Serena lose quite a bit of face. She pouted and called me a player. I shrugged with a smirk, saying I was not a player, just a guy who had too many people chasing him. My tone was pure arrogance. Thinking I was just a transfer student, Serena found my attitude hilarious, warning me about my cocky behavior. She asked if I was afraid of getting jumped, since her class was full of monsters. Hearing that, I smiled, realizing she completely misunderstood who I was. See, I used to be a bored rich kid, until I accidentally activated a legendary cheat called the God Tier system. Suddenly, my older sister dragged me to this elite academy to become a homeroom teacher, a job known around here as a living nightmare. Today was my very first day. Not wanting to ruin the fun misunderstanding, I smiled at Serena and asked her to tell me about these class monsters. Serena smiled and tilted her head, saying she would only tell me if I became her boyfriend for a day so she could introduce me to everyone. I declined, saying things would get way too complicated. She called me stingy, but then smiled and asked me to be her older brother instead. She said having a pretty sister was a win for me. This time, I nodded and accepted the offer. Let us pause for a second, because we are about to enter a complete disaster zone. Serena led me to class 11A3, and it was a chaotic mess. Desks were piled with junk food, sodas, manga, cards, and even mahjong sets. The floor was covered in trash, looking like an absolute war zone of potato chip bags. The blackboard was covered in graffiti, and the whole place felt like a noisy, suffocating flea market. I sighed, realizing my teaching gig would be crazy. Serena announced to the room, "Make way, peasants. We have got a brand new student in here." She told me to introduce myself. I nodded with a polite smile, telling them it was nice to meet them, and my name was Mark. A skinny kid named Tyler jumped up, asking me if I wanted to play. Serena quickly whispered a warning to me, telling me to be extremely careful. She warned that Tyler was a god of gamblers. Tyler frowned at her, asking why she was already calling me her brother when we just met. Serena laughed it off, saying peace brings wealth and a brother is a brother. Just then, a chubby, cheerful guy chimed in with a big laugh. He introduced himself as Dylan and pointed out Noah and Dustin. I casually glanced over at them, activating my system to see what they were about. Instantly, a holographic status board popped up. Tyler had an S in literature, but his special skill was flexible fingers, making him a master of sleight of hand. He was enthusiastic but a total show-off. Cheating. What a delinquent. Real casinos would chop off his fingers. Next was Dylan, S rank in literature and English, a polyglot who was a master at translating movies for free online. His downside? He exclusively translated spicy late-night documentaries. This chubby kid was definitely rewarding himself way too much. Then there was Noah, S rank in literature, but with a special skill called Super Smeller. He could literally sniff out anything, even saltiness in the air. He was the cleanest guy in class, but had a weird fetish for sniffing strange odors. Truly bizarre. Finally, Dustin, a total magnet for rich sugar mamas. His grades were trash, but his physical stats were on a whole different level. 6'1", 8-pack abs, but he only liked older women. I rolled my eyes. Too young to be a sugar baby, he was just a meathead. They had raw talent, but their actual grades were total garbage. I sneered coldly, asking if they wanted to play a few rounds of mahjong with me. The tiles clattered as they were pushed forward. I looked at them with pure confidence, asking what kind of stakes we were playing for. Tyler smiled, suggesting standard rules at $50 a round. $50? I smirked. That is nothing but pocket change to a guy like me. Let us do $5,000 a round instead. 5,000? The entire group froze in shock. So what do you and I think is about to happen next? These rich kids might be wealthy, but losing this much would force them to eat instant noodles for months. If they win, I pay, but they are in for a ride. Roll the dice. If I lose, you get paid. If you lose, you owe me a favor. Stick with me, because this gamble is about to flip their entire world upside down. Free money if they win, and zero risk if they lose. These guys were so sure they had this in the bag. Tyler grinned at his hand and gave Dylan a quick wink. Dylan got the message instantly. The two began their slick, coordinated cheat, feeding Tyler every single tile he needed. Nobody else noticed their shady moves, so I just played defensively. Honestly, watching their terrible poker faces made it so hard for me to keep a straight face. Imagine calling yourself a gambler when your face gives everything away. I slid my tiles forward. Mahjong. The three of them froze in pure shock. I told them to keep playing, totally unfazed. Then, I drew my winning tile. Self-drawn Mahjong. Their smiles vanished. How dare this cocky transfer student pull that off? You were waiting for a 3 or 6 of bamboos, right? Tyler sneered, holding up a 3 of bamboos with a nasty, mocking glare. He claimed that since I wanted to self-draw, throwing his tile did not count as a loss. Serena rolled her eyes at his cheap move, but Dylan backed his buddy up immediately. They claimed they did not force me, blaming my own ego. On the next turn, Tyler drew a tile. A massive, arrogant grin instantly took over his face. He yelled out that he self-drew and slammed his tiles down. But the room went dead silent, and everyone stared at him with bizarre looks. Tyler looked down at his own hand, and his face instantly twisted in pure horror. Resting on the table was a random mix of mismatched tiles and dots. Dylan snapped, asking where the 8 bamboo went when Tyler was supposed to swap it, demanding to know what he was doing. Dylan raged about feeding him tiles all game only for Tyler to mess up. Tyler just stuttered, unable to confess his dirty cheat had totally backfired. Watch closely right here. I smiled, slowly holding up a tile and waving it in front of them, casually asking if this was the one they swapped. Tyler jumped out of his chair in a blind rage, but I just gave him a cold stare, reminding him that the whole room knew who cheated. They were just high school punks, not professional scammers. Getting called out like that made them look incredibly guilty, and they knew it. Nobody dared to speak a word. I slowly reached out for my turn, flipped the final tile, and placed it down. Now, that is a real self-draw. I told them I would skip their money, but they now owed me one favor. They looked completely crushed, while Serena leaned in with a bright grin. She called me cool and asked for a lighter. I blocked her mouth, warning her to stop at the cringe lines before I put her in detention. My eyes flashed with a cold, mischievous light. Serena had met all kinds of guys, but her heart skipped a beat, and her face turned completely red. She wondered what kind of punishment I meant. Then Penny stepped in, trying to close the distance by offering to introduce me to the class. Penny had been watching the whole time. She eagerly mentioned they had a classmate who was an absolute god at playing Mobile Legends. I commented in a totally dry and different tone that their class sure seemed like a gathering of real elite talents. Even though I added that crouching idiots was a better description, it sounded like a compliment, but they all felt the heavy sarcasm. Dylan slammed his hand on the table, startling everyone. He yelled that my cheap parlor tricks did not give me the right to act like a god. Let's see how this tough guy handles our main character. He told me to stop acting so cocky, calling me a mere transfer student. Dylan's crew stepped closer with threatening glares. Dustin was the biggest, a massive gym rat with muscles bulging under his shirt, trying to intimidate me with his size. I glanced at his biceps, thinking they might be the only ones here with enough physical strength to actually put up a decent fight against me. But putting classmates in the hospital on my very first day is a bad look. I need to keep some professional ethics, you know? Right as I was convincing myself to play nice, a head poked through the classroom door, demanding to know what we were doing in a screeching voice. The sharp voice cut through the tension. It was the former homeroom teacher of Class 11A3, standing at the door looking completely furious. She yelled at them for giving her a heart attack so early, telling everyone to sit down and demanding to know who rearranged the desks. A panicked student whispered that the Wicked Witch had arrived. Another slacker suggested they just half-assed the cleanup since the room was always a mess. Under her non-stop screaming, students lazily dragged their desks back. I was the only one left standing, as Tyler glared at my back with a wicked idea. He quickly stood up, loudly reporting to the teacher that they did not want to mess up the class, pointing his finger straight at me. He claimed the new transfer student forced them to gamble for $5,000 a game. Another student jumped in, calling me the ringleader. They claimed I was bad news, arguing that no decent student would ever transfer into their class. Thanks to years of plotting together, the group perfectly aligned to dump all the blame right on my head. The teacher stared at me, looking completely confused. Class 11A3 had a transfer student coming, but where did this guy pop up from? Tyler smirked, asking me why I was standing there like a fool. He mocked me with pure joy, waiting to see how the newbie would talk his way out of this. The entire class stared at me. Some gloated, others pitied me, but they all thought I was dead meat. The teacher looked up, asking if I was really Mark. Her voice trembled, but not from anger. It was an overwhelming, bizarre excitement, with literal tears sparkling in her eyes. The entire class was stunned. Dylan whispered, wondering what was happening, joking that the wicked witch had gone crazy after her recent divorce. Dustin protested, asking if the teacher had a crush, arguing his muscles were way better than mine and she should be looking at him. Dylan hesitated. Trust me, you and I are about to see Dustin get his mind completely blown. Just wait until you see his jaw drop in the next scene. Stick with me, you're about to see this crying teacher grab my hands and gasp, Mr. Mark, you are finally here. She basically threw the student files at me, said she had an emergency, and left the entire morning study hall in my hands. Without even saying goodbye, she spun around and sprinted out of there. Watching her run, I would bet my life savings she was heading straight to party. I casually walked up to the podium with a smirk. Let me reintroduce myself. I am Mark, your new homeroom teacher. The second those words left my mouth, the entire class looked at me with the most hilariously stupid, wide-eyed expressions ever. Tyler and his gang froze, completely unable to process this. Wait, the guy who just busted our illegal gambling ring is our new teacher? No wonder he rejected our bribe. What a total fox. Hey Serena, did you not say he was your older brother? Someone whispered. Serena looked absolutely devastated, like she had just been scammed. My dream boyfriend candidate just turned into my actual teacher in a second. Life can be brutal. Seeing them panic, I smiled and nodded. Alright, now that we are officially introduced, anyone have a problem with me? Total silence. No one even dared to breathe. They knew I was not going to be an easy target like the last guy. Seeing no objections, I leaned back. Excellent. If you do not complain now, you are not allowed to complain later. And if you do, keep it to yourself. Since I am your teacher now, I plan on being an absolutely stellar educator. Now, pay attention, because this is where the real fun begins. I pointed at the kid in the front row. Trent, right? Let's start with you. Everyone give me one thing you want in a teacher. No repeating. Trent stood up shaking, feeling completely singled out and terrified. He panicked. Even if he said it, there was no way I would actually do it. Gentle and kind, he finally squeaked out. Next. The next kid stood up and blurted out, highly educated, morally upright, and in peak physical shape. Next. Rich and handsome. All 45 students racked their brains, throwing out 45 different compliments while I stood there enjoying every second. Well, it looks like I easily fit all your criteria. What a massive narcissist, the class collectively thought. Now it is my turn. A student must be positive, responsible, highly disciplined, respectful, honest, and have solid emotional control. Too bad for you, because as of right now, you guys meet exactly 0 of these. I sighed, looking disappointed. Putting an elite teacher like me in this class is like tossing a pristine white lotus straight into a pigsty. A white lotus in a pigsty, one student snapped, "Are you calling us pigs? What kind of teacher talks to students like that?" The whole class went from thinking I was arrogant to being completely furious. What a psycho. But I just ignored them and stepped down. Just be glad you hit the jackpot with me, but do not expect a free ride. I consider teaching you my bad luck anyway, so do not push me, or I will make sure you share that bad luck. We are the ones with bad luck, they cursed silently. You and I both know I am completely crazy. I stopped at the 4th row and stared at this quiet, nerdy kid. Felix, Literature A, Math C, English C, History S. An absolute history nerd, fast at running errands, but a massive coward. A class president whose only strength is running errands? You should just work delivery. I tapped his desk. Class president, right? Yes sir. Felix jumped up, trembling like a scared little bird. He was easily bullied, clearly only chosen so the others had someone to boss around. I rolled my eyes. All right, you are officially fired. Just like that, Felix was stripped of his title. As for the disciplinary officer, Theo, sanitation officer Quinn, and entertainment officer Fiona, you 3 have been doing a truly spectacular job at being completely useless. You are fired too. The kids did not say a word, their eyes flashing with sarcasm. These titles were just jokes to them anyway. Who cares, right? Now we had 4 major roles wide open. I slowly walked around. I need 4 capable people for this. The class watched me like I was some kind of circus act. Tyler and his crew, still salty about earlier, waited for me to fail. Looking for capable students here? Keep dreaming. This entire classroom has 0 redeeming qualities besides their absolute dedication to chaos. Anyone you pick will end in disaster. Any volunteers? I asked. Dead silence. All right, Tyler, you are the new class president. Tyler jumped, looking completely blindsided. Why me? Because I think you are perfect for the job, I replied with a cold grin. Then I pointed at Dylan, entertainment officer, Noah, sanitation, Dustin, disciplinary. The four of them stood there totally frozen, with absolutely no clue. I did not bother explaining. It was a classic move using the rebel leader to control the rest of the gang. It is how you keep troublemakers in line. As officers, you have real duties, I said, turning serious. Within one day, I want this place spotless. No dust on the windows, clean floors, and the blackboard is for studying only. Absolutely no drawing on it. No talking during class, no phones, and no reading random books. Fail to do this, and I will hold you four personally responsible. With that, I walked out. In just one class period, I had received over 20 texts from the principal, my sister Lucy. Behind me, chaos erupted. Who does this guy think he is? Tyler spat, exchanging dark looks with the others. Trust me, you and I are about to see this narrow-eyed punk realize he just met his match. The war is officially on. Let's dive into a wild new story today. The plan was to lay low, but the second I push open the principal's office door in the admin wing, a massive, heavy hardcover book flies straight at my face. I easily dodge it with a laugh. Sis, what did I do this time to deserve a literal assassination attempt? You seriously have the nerve to ask, Principal Lucy Fuentes snaps. I hired you to teach, not drive a hypercar to school. I shrug. It was a gift from Dad. If I do not show it off, he will get depressed. I smirk. Besides, look at the results. No one else can handle those kids. She sighs. I know your capabilities. Lucy instantly shifts to her sweet-talking voice. I trust you the most. Oh, by the way, you are still single, right? Hearing that, my ears instantly perk up. Why? I ask. Because I set up your desk right next to the prettiest teacher in the whole school, Lucy says with a wink. Go get her, bro. With that, she literally shoves me right out of her office. I look up and immediately spot an absolutely stunning figure standing a few feet away. She is wearing a flowing white dress, looking like a literal masterpiece. I rub my chin, thinking, not bad. Mr. Mark, she asks, offering her hand while checking me out. I am Miss Bianca. Let me guide you to your desk. I have to admit, my insane good looks make the other handsome guys here look like mere toddlers. After a quick tour, Bianca returns to work. Sitting in the office, totally bored, a genius idea strikes. I activate the surveillance feed from my god-tier system. Instantly, a live stream of Class 11A3 pops into my head. The literature teacher is droning on, but the back of the room is pure anarchy. Kids are sleeping, drooling all over their desks. Others are throwing sunflower seeds. One kid is yelling at his phone game so loud the poor teacher is literally flinching. Over in the corner, two girls are crying their eyes out over some novel. Curious, I zoom in. Wow, the main character is literally harvesting his own kidneys to save his girlfriend. No wonder they are sobbing. Who finds organ trafficking romantic? That is just brain rot. Trust me, dealing with these kids is mission impossible. But this system? It makes things way too easy. The next morning, Class 11A3 is fully packed early. The students are practically shaking with excitement over the devilish trap they have set up. As I casually walk in humming a tune, 45 pairs of eyes lock onto me, silently screaming, he is here. Right by the podium, a mysterious wooden box is waiting. As my steps get closer, the box rattles and a flat head peeks out. Two freezing, gem-like eyes stare back at me with an icy glare. The sound of scales scraping along the floor makes several girls shiver. Their skin crawls, and they are dying to sprint out of the classroom. If they did not want to see me fail so badly, they would have run far away by now. Suddenly, the snake slithers out and wraps itself right around my ankle. Mark is going to cry, the class thinks, their eyes wide with evil anticipation. But I immediately spot the creature down by my feet. I look down and lock eyes with a corn snake as thick as my arm. It is snow white with bright, fiery red patterns. Usually, brighter colors mean deadlier venom. A bite from this thing would send me straight to the afterlife. Luckily, I can tell these crazy colors were artificially bred. Why is he frozen? Is he paralyzed with fear? Oh my gosh, what if he actually has a heart attack and dies right here? Whispers break out as their smug smiles turn into absolute panic. They wanted a harmless prank, not a literal manslaughter charge. Theo, the snake's owner, is sweating bullets. If his beloved pet kills the teacher, his parents will definitely ban his entire reptile hobby. And right when they are losing their minds, watch me smile. Trent, sitting in the very front row, jumps. Who smiles at a snake like a total maniac? Has this guy actually lost his mind? Next second, I crouch down and reach toward the snake. The poor little guy is terrified of the loud classroom, but he is used to humans and does not mind my scent. It happily climbs up my arm and coils around my wrist. I stand up, gently petting its head. Well, what do we have here? I found myself a little sweetheart. The entire class gasps. He is not afraid of it. Calling a snake sweetheart? This teacher is way weirder than Theo. I step down and extend my arm toward Penny in the front. Check out these cool patterns. Matches your lipstick, right? Do you not think it is adorable? Penny freezes, staring right into the snake's eyes. A split second later, a deafening shriek completely shatters the classroom peace. She scrambles to the corner, curling up in sheer terror. The other girls panic and scatter. In seconds, I am standing in a completely empty zone. I look at my little snake friend with pity. All that screaming spooked the poor thing, and it is flicking its tongue defensively. I stroke its head to calm it down. Then, right nearby, I spot a tiny, transparent fishing line rigged up. If I trip on it, a bag of black ink on the ceiling fan will explode, turning me into a human squid. I smile and turn to the class. Do some self-study, guys. I need to go handle my little sweetheart. Sweetheart, please, be professional, I whisper to the snake. We have not gone public with our relationship yet. Out in the hallway, my sister Lucy shows up looking incredibly annoyed. I am buried in paperwork, and you are out here playing games. You better have a good reason for calling me out. I smirk, of course. I pull up my sleeve, revealing the cute pink and white snake. Seeing it, Principal Lucy instantly transforms into a starry-eyed schoolgirl. She gently pets it, squealing about how cute it is and asking if it is hungry. She leads us to her office for premium white mice, and the snake is officially hers. After playing with it for a bit, she finally looks up at me. As expected of my brother, you always bring me the best things. I wink. I have another fun show lined up. Want to watch? Lucy instantly lights up and says, obviously. Back in the classroom, things have exploded. That corn snake was a veteran actor. It had made multiple previous teachers run out of the room crying. When I walk in, they fall dead silent. Love the behavior, I note, fixing Trent's textbook. You and I know this is only round one. All right, you and I are about to watch some hilarious revenge. I flashed a wicked grin, flicked the ceiling fan switch, bolted out the door, and locked those bratty students in from the outside. My moves were as smooth as water. Before any of those kids could even process what happened, the ceiling fan blades roared to life. Oh no. The students realized what was coming way too late. The hidden ink bag ruptured, sending a total monsoon of black ink raining down. Screams echoed everywhere. Panicked students rushed the doors, only to find both exits totally locked. They screamed to turn the fan off, but no luck. In the absolute chaos, someone finally hit the switch. The fan slowed down, revealing a classroom that looked like a total disaster zone. The floors, desks, and students were completely covered in black ink. Serena pulled out her mirror, only to see her perfect makeup transformed into an abstract disaster. She shrieked like a banshee, complaining about her ruined face. Instantly, her loud scream directed the entire class's burning fury right toward me outside the door. They literally wanted to murder me. If looks could kill, I'd be dead. Meanwhile, outside, Lucy was laughing so hard she was practically bent double. I just smirked, checked my watch, and casually unlocked the door to face 45 furious, ink-covered demons with an innocent blink. Oh my, what happened? Why are you all so messy? I acted like I just realized something, saying I only turned on the fan to clear a weird smell. Who left ink up there, anyway? That instantly killed half their rage. They put it there, but I totally outsmarted them. Some girls begged to be excused because of the grime, but I shut them down instantly. No one leaves this room. You have 10 minutes to clean up, then we study. This old fox did it on purpose, and the furious students were completely powerless. They grabbed tissues to wipe themselves down and sat back down. Tyler was absolutely fuming, glaring daggers at me. He wasn't done yet, winking at Dylan. Dylan stood up, offering to clean the blackboard. I just gave him a knowing side-eye and told him to go ahead. Dylan walked up, wiped the board, and accidentally knocked my briefcase down. Now watch closely here as he picks it up. He snags the zipper, and a photo flutters out. The entire class locked eyes on the dropped photo. It showed a black background, plenty of bare skin, and some highly suggestive Japanese writing. Dylan shrieked in fake horror, asking why I had this in my bag, calling my role model status into question in front of everyone. A few girls dramatically covered their eyes while Tyler and his crew smirked triumphantly through their ink-covered faces. They tried mocking me. They asked if I was compensating for something. Teenagers can be incredibly vicious, but I didn't say a single word in response. I just bent down, picked up the picture, and called it terrible taste. Then, under their mocking gazes, I pulled out a massive stack. You kids like art? I have plenty. Want to see? Tyler was confused. Wasn't there just one picture? Tyler's smugness completely vanished when I held up the first photo. You and I can see him gaming while aggressively picking his nose, thinking nobody watched. A snort of laughter broke the silence and spread like a virus. Everyone knew Tyler planted that spicy photo, but this was a wild twist. Tyler turned beet red, wishing the floor would swallow him. He lunged to snatch the photo, but I just laughed. Don't like it? I waved the thick stack of photos. Want to play a game of total destruction? I started flashing them one by one. Here is Serena aggressively chewing sunflower seeds while rolling her eyes, and Felix picking his nose in secret. Absolutely brilliant. And Trent drooling all over his desk. The class went dead silent as I dropped the photos with a fake, innocent apology. I accidentally captured some of your bad angles. Right then, the bell rang. I walked out, telling them to clean up. The break in class 11A3 was historically depressing, The defeated students frantically destroyed the embarrassing photos, slumping in their seats. Their new homeroom teacher is a literal demon. In just one single day, he secretly photographed all their worst moments without them noticing. Even worse, every move they made was predicted. Defeat after defeat left class morale at rock bottom. When the bell rang, Miss Sue, the literature teacher, walked in and froze. Why was there ink and terrified kids everywhere? She thought they were planning something sinister and just wanted to flee. But tragically, the next 2 periods were back-to-back literature classes. It was basically a death sentence. But just as she prepared for the worst, I appeared at the classroom door. Miss Sue, you took a sick day today, right? I asked with a warm smile, leaving her completely baffled. Her survival instincts kicked in, and she quickly agreed she was sick. She grabbed her books and bolted, shooting me a look of deep pity. Thinking I was a poor soul thrown to the demons, she left. The class stared at each other. Literature was gone, and now I was teaching. They instinctively sat up straight, fearing my ultimate revenge. I strolled to the podium, announcing Miss Sue was sick. So, literature class is now gym class. Their eyes widened. Was I actually being nice, or was this another trap? Honestly, I am not mad about today, I said gently. I am actually happy to see you so energetic. The room felt eerily silent. Despite all the trolling, my gentle tone actually made them wonder if their crazy new teacher actually cared about them deep down. I know locking you in was cruel, I said softly. That is why we are doing gym class. You should not be caged during your youth. Go outside, run on the track, and enjoy your lives. My passionate speech actually gave them a massive surge of adrenaline. He's right. Who wants to be locked up? They looked moved. Trust me, you and I are going to love what happens next. All right, you and I are about to watch this crazy teacher totally break his class. He gives them 5 minutes to prepare before heading to the field, stepping off the podium to inspect the room. He runs a finger across the dusty window and glares at Noah, reminding the sanitation officer he had exactly 1 day to clean. Looks like you did 0 work, he says. Noah just scratches his head, muttering that Rome wasn't built in a single day. Ignoring the excuse, he turns to Dylan, calling out the messy blackboard before locking eyes with Dustin, the disciplinary officer. He shows them the proof on his phone, making their hearts race. They were just feeling inspired by his speech, and now this guy is bringing the absolute hammer down. But instead of punishing them right there, he tells everyone to head to the field. The students cheer wildly and storm out like a literal jailbreak. Tyler and his crew let out a massive sigh of relief, wondering if the teacher actually forgot about his promise to punish them. Out on the track, the teacher dismisses the entire class for free time except for Tyler, Dylan, Noah, and Dustin. Instant cheers erupt. As everyone scatters, the 4 unlucky guys look on with pure jealousy, asking why they have to stay. The teacher just grins, reminding them of their failed duties. Nothing crazy, he says, just a light jog with me. A jog? The boys shrug it off, thinking their new teacher has gone completely soft. Lined up at the start, the teacher casually drops a rule. They cannot stop running until he stops. The boys easily agree, thinking it'll be a breeze. They start running, but after the first lap, the teacher isn't even breaking a sweat, breathing perfectly fine. Gym bro Dustin is breathing harder, though 800 meters is usually just a warm-up. By lap 2, the teacher is still chilling, while Dustin begins to feel the burn. The others are wheezing, legs heavy as lead. By lap 4, they realize they're in deep trouble as Dylan pants like a dying dog. This psycho isn't even sweating. Tyler gasps, throat burning. Now, pay attention here, because this is the moment the boys realize they messed with the wrong guy. Lap 5. The 4 are dead silent, focusing all their remaining energy on survival. Is their teacher some kind of Olympic runner? He effortlessly glides past them, cheerfully mocking them for giving up so early. Dustin's worst fears are quickly turning into reality. The teacher could run an entire marathon easily. 18 laps is child's play to him. He taunts them, asking why high schoolers are so incredibly weak. You're getting lapped and you can barely even walk, he jeers. They want to curse him out, but their dry throats can't even produce words. Watching them suffer brings him pure joy. He slows down, jogging right behind them to whisper absolute poison into their ears to break their spirits. Worst stamina ever, and we've only been running for 1 class period, he whispers mockingly. We have 1 more period left, keep pacing yourselves. Hearing this, Tyler's legs completely give out and he collapses face first onto the track. Dylan and Noah try to help, but collapse right beside him. The teacher stops to ensure they aren't having actual heart attacks, then casually squats down. Are you guys even teenagers? He asks. From now on, forget literature class. We are running every single day until you can finish 20 laps without dying. Your physical health is more important. His words hit them like lightning. Running today was torture, but running tomorrow sounds like a death sentence. You and I both know studying literature suddenly sounds like absolute paradise. Dustin wheezes, trying to argue that academics are actually very important. Skipping class every day will ruin our future, they think. Studying is suddenly heaven. They can sleep or play games, anything but this running nightmare. The teacher raises an eyebrow, asking for the benefits of literature. They quickly list off improved communication skills and expanded horizons. It helps us read love letters, Dylan adds desperately. The four rack their brains for any excuse to avoid running. The teacher nods slowly. Good point, go back to class, he says, letting them exhale in relief. But, he smiles. Can you guys actually handle your officer duties? Yes, absolutely, they yell. Cleaning is child's play compared to this track torture. Good, the teacher says. I'll give you one more day. If it's not spotless, the entire class runs with me tomorrow. The four realize he's not human, limping back to collapse in their chairs. Serena, who spent 2 hours on her makeup, saunters over to gloat about the teacher having it out for them. What did you guys do to anger the gods? She laughs. Noah snaps, telling her he's the sanitation officer now and ordering her to start cleaning. She tries to feel his forehead, asking if he's delusional, but he slaps her hand away. Seeing the class return, Noah painfully climbs onto a desk and roars. Listen up, pair up and get your cleaning duties. This place must be spotless before school ends. The class refuses, thinking Noah has lost his mind. But Noah warns them that if they don't clean, everyone runs marathons with the teacher tomorrow. Noah screams. Looking at the four half-dead, panting boys, the class instantly understands the threat of physical education. Clean the room or run a marathon. Weighing their options, the students quickly pair up and grab their assignments. During break, the class turns into a frenzy of productivity. When the next bell rings, they're still cleaning. Mr. Turner, the math teacher, walks in and freezes. Is this class 11A3, he asks. A student begs him to take a sick day, and hearing morning rumors, the teacher agrees. Yes, I am incredibly sick, Mr. Turner yells, sprinting away. Our main character walks in, sees the frantic cleaning, and nods in approval. That is more like it, the teacher says, wondering where the math teacher went. Noah, holding a trash bag, a book, and a rag in his mouth, panics. Did this psycho make the math teacher run away too? Since it is nice out, keep cleaning, he says, frowning at the podium chair. Felix, the coward, immediately scrubs the chair. Trust me, you and I can see this class is finally whipped into shape. Alright, you and I are about to see some legendary bootlicking. This kid knew he was no alpha, so he clung right to the strongest guy around. I watched from the sidelines, telling them to clean up before we studied. Meanwhile, Dustin tried showing off his disciplinary power, shouting at everyone to get to work. He yelled to keep quiet once class started, figuring his job was done. Whether they listened was not his problem. I waved him over. I asked if that was really how he enforced discipline. Dustin looked confused, asking what else to do. I wondered how a jacked guy like him had no influence. He hesitated, saying using his influence on classmates felt weird. I told him to stop caring and just go for it. So Dustin walked to the center of the room and ripped his shirt up, flexing a perfect 8-pack. I blinked. What do abs have to do with discipline? Dustin yelled that his perfect 8-pack was on display, something even the VIP gym members could not see. Free touching for everyone today. If they stayed disciplined, everyone got one free touch. He reminded them that older ladies usually paid $100 for this. Insanely, his tactic actually worked. A crowd of girls swarmed him instantly, begging to book a spot to feel his abs. I just stood there, completely speechless. Whatever works, I guess. If it gets the job done, who cares? The classroom finally got clean, but in the corner, Quinn, our resident element master, was totally slacking off. He was supposed to help Hazel with the trash, but she did all the heavy lifting while he just hid in the corner playing on his phone. Now watch this closely. I confronted them, saying trash duty should not take this long, making Quinn grunt in annoyance. Hazel dragged the last trash can over, completely exhausted, while Quinn just complained and told her to hurry up. Annoyed, I pulled up her stats. Literature grade A, Math and English C, and Art double S. Pro, deeply sensitive. Con, a hopeless romantic pushover. A hopeless romantic? I was stunned. With a double S-tier art talent, she could easily conquer the global art world. Too bad she was severely infected with the ultimate simp syndrome. This was going to be tough, but after a full period of hard labor, the classroom was finally back to its original clean state. Looking at the sparkling room, the kids admitted a clean space felt nice. But when the final morning period arrived and I walked in, their faces turned green. Tyler panicked, asking why I was back and if another teacher got sick. I just gave him a deadpan stare. This is my chemistry class. The old chemistry teacher could not stand you idiots, so I am taking over. Tyler sat down in relief. All right, enough talking, grab your chemistry books. Walking down the aisle, I stopped at Trent's desk. It is chemistry, so why is your literature book out? Trent stuttered, mentioning some charity drive. He claimed he donated his chemistry book to poor kids in the mountains. The entire class burst out laughing. I kept walking and snatched a book from Quinn. Wait, Genshin Impact? You and I both know that 5 years of grinding does not count as chemistry. I raised an eyebrow, mocking his elemental mastery. Quinn quickly lied, claiming his grandma sold his chemistry book for scrap paper. After scanning the room, I totally lost the mood to teach. Half the class did not even have the textbook. I walked back up. Since you all prefer novels over chemistry, let us talk about fiction instead today. Their eyes lit up instantly. Now they were finally awake. They did not care about my motives since anything beat studying. I smiled, asking if they wanted to discuss some world-famous literature instead. They looked confused. I brought up Journey to the West, assuming everyone at least knew the story. Even if they had not read it, they had seen the movies. The excitement died down instantly. Boring, they thought, but I just smirked. I asked why Sun Wukong did not melt after being burned in Laozi's furnace for 3 days and 3 nights. A student yelled he was not human. Wrong, I replied, drawing a massive X. Laozi's furnace used coal, reaching 1200 degrees Celsius max. But Sun Wukong was born from stone. Stone is made of silica, which melts at 1600 degrees. How could a 1200 degree furnace melt a 1600 degree rock? The entire class was utterly mind blown. Tyler muttered that using science to explain magic was just twisting the facts. He stood up to challenge me, asking about his fiery golden eyes. I asked if he also donated his chemistry book to the mountains. At high temperatures, silica vitrifies into glass, and glass reflects light. There is your fiery golden eyes. The class erupted in laughter because that actually made sense. Tyler glared, demanding to know how a divine furnace could possibly explode at the end. Great question, I said, promising to spare anyone who could answer from punishment. Fiona eagerly waved her hand to answer. She said Sun Wukong kicked it. I internally rubbed my temples and told her to keep standing. I asked the rest to think critically. Besides silica, what else is in stone? Someone shouted calcium carbonate. Exactly, and what happens when you heat that to extreme temperatures? It turns into calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. A massive gas buildup inside a sealed furnace spikes the pressure. Of course, it exploded. Their jaws dropped. They had never heard anyone break down a myth with science before, and it was undeniably fascinating. I mocked them for neglecting their studies while failing to even understand their beloved novels, especially those ridiculous, trashy romance stories about organ harvesting. I suddenly pointed at Penny, making her stand up nervously. She had one of those trashy novels hidden right inside her desk. I looked her dead in the eye, asking what she would do if a psycho tried to steal her organs. The class stared, waiting for her answer. She hesitated, then whispered that she would make him regret it. When I asked how, she said she would never forgive him. I slammed my desk, telling her to dial 911 instead of harboring a grudge. Penny innocently patted her pockets, froze, and covered them. Trust me, you and I have a long journey ahead with this class. All right, let's watch this absolute beast of a teacher break down a student lying about not having a phone. I let things slide before, but starting tomorrow, any phone in this room is mine. With that, class was dismissed. As the bell rang, the kids realized the class had flown by. They actually enjoyed learning until reality hit no phones. In this digital age, losing their phones was literally worse than death. They screamed in protest and ran out of the room, shouting war cries all the way to the cafeteria. In the faculty lounge, Miss Sue and Mr. Turner looked at me like I was a literal god. Thanks to me, they escaped mental torture. They used to pity me for getting assigned to class 11A3, but now they knew I was a total boss. I just smiled and tucked a cigarette behind my ear. Back in high school, I was just like these kids. Dealing with these punks is child's play for you, Mr. Turner laughed, handing me a light. Take my math class whenever you want. I have zero hope for them anyway. Not to be outdone, Miss Sue handed me some beef jerky her nephew bought on vacation, insisting I try some. Munching on the snack, I told them to have hope. Who knows, maybe class 11A3 will become model students. The other teachers just stared at me. Model students? They thought I was delusional. That class was just a holding pen for spoiled rich brats. Surviving was the only goal. Now pay attention here, because the next morning, these spoiled brats prepared dummy phones to trick me and hide their real ones. They silenced and hid their actual devices. Dylan boasted that I was just a rookie, claiming a real pro would have done a surprise inspection. By warning us first, he won't catch a thing. Tyler thumped his chest, asking who said they were surrendering anything. Under my leadership, turning in 45 fakes is a breeze. Suddenly, Trent yelled that I was coming, and I walked in holding a massive plastic basket. Felix, the class kiss-up, rushed to greet me. The rest of the students followed. I scanned the desks. Where is Hazel? Hazel was a quiet introvert who never wanted any attention, so her being late was highly unusual. A student guessed she might be running an errand. I decided to call her parents later. For now, it was business time. I demanded they drop their phones into my basket. Felix dropped a phone in. As he walked away, I called him back, making him panic. Shaking the plastic brick, I asked if this was really his phone. Do you usually text with a heavy brick? Hand over the real one right now. My voice turned absolutely freezing. Felix trembled and ran to grab his actual phone. The class started panicking. Their old teachers only did this stuff for show. They just accepted the fakes and left. Why was I being so strict? Trent was too scared to move, but Noah pushed ahead, confidently tossing a high-end smartphone inside. I looked at it. Noah grinned and told me to inspect it, confidently pressing the power button. An Apple logo flashed on screen, immediately followed by a low battery signal before going black. He apologized, claiming he forgot to charge it. You and I both know what is coming. I flipped the phone, pointing out the fake boot screen as Noah sweats. Noah offered to charge it, but before he could finish, a loud crack echoed. I literally crushed the phone, exposing the cheap lead weights inside. He turned pale, realizing his expensive dummy phone was ruined. That preparation went completely down the drain. With their heads bowed in total defeat, the rest of the kids lined up. I told them making mistakes is normal, as long as they learn. Hand over the actual phones, and you will not get in trouble. Hearing my soft tone, their resistance crumbled out of guilt. I counted 40 phones. Excluding Hazel, I was missing 4 students. I looked right at Tyler, Dustin, Theo, and Fiona, asking for theirs. Tyler smugly shrugged, inviting me to search them if I did not believe him. I just nodded and told them to sit down. Let's start class. I smiled, narrowing my eyes. But first, we do roll call. The kids wondered why, since only Hazel was gone. Suddenly, a robotic voice called out saying Siri was here. The entire classroom turned to look at the back corner. The kids realized I was pure evil, though the ones who already complied felt relieved. Tyler trembled, staring at the curtains where his phone was hidden. Before he could even pray for a miracle, I walked straight over to the curtain and pulled his device right out. A phone growing on a curtain? Climate change really is amazing, I mocked. The entire class was completely speechless at my move. I pocketed it and triggered Alexa next. A voice chirped from Fiona's desk, and the poor girl absolutely crumbled under the pressure. She pulled her phone out of a personal hygiene pouch and handed it over. I looked at her with fake concern, teasing that blood loss might be causing her forgetfulness. Remember to drink plenty of warm water, I said. The class erupted in laughter, leaving Fiona wishing she had just surrendered it. Next, I triggered Google, and 2 beeps went off. I walked over and pulled one phone from Dustin's thermos and another from Theo's glasses case. You 4 are incredibly creative, I remarked, stepping back to the podium as they turned pale. I actually appreciate this creativity. As a reward, come to my office tonight and you can have them back. They looked stunned. They couldn't believe their ears, while the rest of the class groaned in deep regret. They wished they had hidden theirs too. Roll call was officially done. Get your chemistry books out and memorize the formulas. Quiz tomorrow. I walked toward the door, turning back to wink at Dustin. I left the disciplinary officer in charge to go call Hazel's parents. Trust me, we need to see what happens next. Alright, you and I are about to watch this badass main character absolutely lose it. He demands his system to track down Hazel immediately, ignoring all the security limits. The system screen flashes on, showing splashing water and Hazel gasping in absolute pain. Our guy completely freezes. A nasty voice mocks her, asking if she is swimming this early. Then some brat violently yanks Hazel away from the bathroom sink. Her hair is dripping wet and plastered to her face. It is clear she is trapped in a restroom. This is brutal school bullying. He orders the system to find the location, but it says it cannot track. He snaps at the useless machine to get to work. The system finally gives in. First floor girls' room. On screen, Hazel looks like a helpless doll getting shoved around by these mean girls. The ringleader with the high ponytail is Vanessa, the top student of class 11A9. She slaps Hazel, mockingly telling her to go ahead and tell a teacher. Vanessa brags that she is an honor student. No one would believe a loser over her. Hazel looks completely hollowed out, knowing it is true. The sidekicks laugh, calling her a rat and accusing her of trying to steal Vanessa's boyfriend. They claim Vanessa would never lie to anyone. They threaten to ruin her pretty face if she does not back off, sneering about who she will try to seduce next. The bullies strut out of the restroom with spotless uniforms and sweet faces. They look like absolute angels to the outside world. Vanessa tells her crew to keep quiet, but suddenly stops. Standing in the hallway is our main character, a tall, incredibly handsome man in his 20s. Assuming he is a new teacher, Vanessa is instantly hooked by his good looks. She immediately puts on her most innocent, sweet smile. They squeak out polite greetings, but our main character just smirks at how fake they are. He nods and walks straight toward the restroom. Her friend whispers if he might be Hazel's teacher. Vanessa's eyes turn cold, saying she just slipped and fell, so it is not their problem. Meanwhile, inside the bathroom, a pale Hazel is silently drying her face off with paper towels. A bright red handprint burns on her cheek. She wonders what she will tell her homeroom teacher, then scoffs at herself for even caring. She knows the teacher hates her class, so why would he help? Walking out with her head down, she bumps right into him. He asks if this is why she is late. Hazel recoils in shock, stuttering an apology to Mark. He immediately asks why she is saying sorry when she did nothing wrong. He frowns in frustration. She is the victim, yet she is begging for forgiveness. Hazel tries to speak, but the words just will not come. He tells her to forget the explanation. If it were guys doing this, he would have dragged them into an alley and beaten them to a pulp. But dealing with manipulative girls who play the victim is tricky since he does not hit women. He tells her to follow him, and she obeys without question. Used to being ignored, she expects to go to class, but instead, he leads her straight to his private office. He tells her to wait and steps out, returning shortly with a towel and an ice pack to help bring down the swelling on her face. He tells her to skip the first 2 periods and rest. She takes the ice pack, feeling the cold seep deep into her soul. Suddenly, tears fill her eyes. Now, pay attention here, he is completely clueless on how to comfort a crying girl because his past girlfriends always comforted him. Saved by his ringing phone, he tells Hazel to stay put and quickly bolts out of the room to escape the awkward situation. As the door slams, Hazel laughs through her tears, realizing Mr. Mark is actually pretty sweet beneath his tough exterior. The dean orders him to go collect the new transfer student. It turns out this is the actual kid, explaining the massive mix-up on his very first day. At the gate, he finds a rich couple arguing with a bleach-blonde teenager who is complaining that bringing him to school is completely pointless. The kid puffs on a cigarette, swearing he will never study, but his mother snatches it away, lecturing him about only caring about his car collection. She threatens to sell all his cars if he fails. The brat panics, claiming his grandfather gifted him those rides. She screams that she is protecting his future, but he yells back, asking if she just wants to turn him into a soulless robot. His furious father raises a hand, warning him not to disrespect his mother, but he cannot bring himself to actually hit his son. Repeating the threat to sell the cars, the parents drive off. Our guy walks over and slaps a hand right on the kid's shoulder. Before he can introduce himself, the punk swats his hand away, demanding to be shown the way. Our lead just smirks and turns. If he wants to be silent, that is fine. The punk, Kevin, follows him with a deep scowl until they reach their destination, where he explodes. They stand outside the boys' restroom. You might be thinking the same thing as Kevin, who asks if he is crazy and turns to leave. But as soon as he steps away, a massive force yanks him inside. Out of instinct, the brat throws a wild kick. Our hero easily dodges, causing the kid's shin to smash into the wall. As he freezes in agony, a brutal fist slams straight into his jaw. Kevin crashes hard onto the floor, his head spinning. Our lead looks down coldly, offering to teach him some basic respect. Kevin gasps, asking if he is really a teacher. Our MC sneers, squatting down, and says he only has a few simple demands. He orders him to dye his hair black, attend class, and address him as sir. Despite the intense pain, Kevin's eyes burn with absolute defiance and rage. He spits on the ground, mocking teachers who play savior just because they are older, noting that even turtles live longer than him. That doesn't mean it can teach him. Laughing at his pride, you and I know our guy is about to use his car obsession to break him. Alright, you and I are about to watch a kid lose his absolute mind. Kevin snaps, his veins bulging as he screams, "You are killing my dream. You think just because there is no blood, you are not a murderer?" His hoarse voice echoes, and I completely lose it laughing. Talk about throwing ice water on his big speech. Kevin clenches his fists, knuckles cracking, while I struggle to keep a straight face. Fine, since you are my student, I might help you out. Kevin breathes deeply to calm down, asking, "Help me how? You just want to race and skip studying, right?" I ask. "I am not against that." "You are not?" Kevin gasps. "Why did you not say so?" "You never asked." Kevin blushes, then mutters, "So you will convince my parents?" "Sure," I reply coolly. "But first, you have to convince me." "Convince you?" Kevin hesitates, glancing at my hands. "I already know I cannot beat you in a fight. Even in your favorite sport, you still cannot beat me." I challenge. Kevin is shocked. "You race too? Just a hobby?" I smirk. "Choose your game. Formula 1, Formula 2, Rally, or Endurance. I am down for anything." Kevin grins, his confidence roaring back. "Deal. Let us keep it simple. I will text you the location. Just show up, and until then, I ask." Kevin looks at my fists, swallowing hard. "Until then, I will follow you to class." I bring Kevin inside, introduce him, and turn to Tyler. "Class president, take the new kid to get his books after school." Tyler is thrilled. With me banning phones and gambling, he was bored out of his mind. "Kevin, right? Why did you transfer?" "Beat up a teacher," Kevin replies flatly. "Incredible." Tyler is amazed. "But what happened to your jaw?" Kevin glares. "The teacher said to get books, not to interrogate me. Keep the attitude and I will go myself." Tyler rolls his eyes. "Fine, whatever. I'm only staying here for a couple of days anyway," Kevin mutters, tossing his bag. "2 days? Do you think this school is a bus stop?" Tyler sneers. "Think whatever you want, kid." Realizing Kevin is impossible, Tyler drags him off to get the textbooks. Later, during evening study hall, the phoneless class is in absolute agony. With everyone watching in pure jealousy, I return the taken phones to Tyler, Dustin, Theo, and Fiona. They grab them, hands shaking. But seeing me at the podium, their joy turns to instant suspicion. Why give them back? He is definitely watching us. Using a phone under his gaze is impossible. "You want to play, right?" I smile warmly. "Go ahead, play." The class is stunned. Playing openly during study hall? Why do they get special treatment? Tyler, Dustin, and Theo feel a sudden chill down their spines. Knowing me, they suspect a massive trap is waiting. Teacher, studying is way more important than phones. Tyler laughs nervously. Exactly, the others agree. We love learning. I love the passion. I smirk. How about this? Tonight, you four get total freedom to use your phones. Think of it as a reward. Play all you want. I will not take them back. The whole class can witness my promise. It sounds so real that Dylan elbows Tyler. Dude, he is not lying. Try it. Do not be a coward. Shut up. Tyler glares back. Even knowing it is a trap, Tyler takes the bait. He powers up his phone, the loud startup sound making the class green with envy. Gaming openly in study hall is the ultimate flex. Haha, jealous. Die mad about it, Tyler gloats loudly. Seeing the screen light up satisfies his massive ego. But when the home screen loads, Tyler freezes. Wait, where is my wallpaper? Why is it pure white? It is his phone, so he presses the scanner. The screen flashes a new prompt. Fingerprint accepted. Please answer the security questions to unlock. Tyler rubs his eyes. He knows the words, but they make absolutely zero sense together. If equal mass of zinc powder is added to 10 milliliters of 1 molar hydrochloric acid and 10 milliliters of 1 molar acetic acid, producing gas volumes V1 and V2 respectively, which reaction is faster? Enter the correct answer to unlock. What the hell? Is this my phone? Tyler is dumbfounded. Oh, I forgot to mention, I smile sarcastically. Pay close attention here, guys. I installed a minigame. You must beat it to unlock your phones. Their horrified expressions are priceless. The class peeks at the screens and bursts into hysterical laughter. Have fun playing, boys. The jealousy evaporates, replaced by the absolute joy of watching them suffer. Do not worry, it is only 25 questions. All the answers are in your chemistry books, I explain. Finish it to unlock. Finally, Tyler snaps. He slams his desk, roaring. You think these stupid tricks will make me study? Dream on. His teenage rebellion is exploding. Even if God himself orders it, he is not answering. Dustin and Theo stand up in solid support. Now, look what happens next. I smile, making their blood run cold. Your phones are linked to the smart projector. Fail to pass the quiz by the end of class, and it will broadcast your entire browser history to everyone. What? Tyler instantly freezes, pointing a trembling finger at me. It takes him 30 seconds to choke out 3 words. You are evil. Thanks. I appreciate the compliment. I would hurry up. The class is dying to see your late-night searches. Broadcast their history? Absolutely not. The 4 of them dive onto their desks, frantically flipping pages and writing down answers. They would rather turn to dust than ruin their reputations. Stop laughing, everyone, I call out. And that is how we leave them. Put your books away, class. Tonight, we are learning about justifiable self-defense. Trust me, you and I are about to witness an epic payback. The class is baffled by self-defense. Nobody notices Hazel trembling in the very back. She looks up and meets my gaze, which is filled with pure resolve and encouragement. A sudden jolt of strength rushes through her entire body. She knows this lesson is for her. First, let us define justifiable self-defense, I announce, activating the system's focus aura. Simply put, it means stopping an active, illegal attack. If your legal rights or safety are ever threatened, as your teacher, I expect you to fight back. Being bullied doesn't make you weak. When the time comes to stand up for yourself, you absolutely must not hold back. Maybe it was my speech, or maybe the system's focus aura was working its magic, but the class suddenly cheered. Hell yeah. Historically, the law often punished the victims for fighting back, calling it a mutual brawl, but landmark cases changed all that. I won't bore you with dry legal jargon. If you are curious, look it up. The bottom line is that justice should never yield to evil. My eyes flick to Hazel in the back. She is sitting perfectly straight, hands tightly clasped, hanging onto my every word. I have finally said what needed to be said. Even though I was never bullied, I understand the logic. Bullies prey on the weak and fear the strong. To end it, you must become strong. You need courage to fight, unshakable resolve, and a basic understanding of the law. When the bell rings, the class is still completely absorbed. Let's pause here. These kids are shocked that learning actually feels fun. One student even whispers, "Is the chemistry teacher secretly a lawyer? He is spitting facts." Justice doesn't back down. If anyone bullies me, I am calling my uncle. He owns a taekwondo dojo. I tap the desk, demanding 1 more minute. I know you guys dislike me and probably want me fired right now, but remember this. As long as I am your teacher, I will always have your back. Watching me walk out, the class feels a strange respect. He is super annoying, but kind of awesome. Serena sighs, cupping her red cheeks. He is so hot. As expected of my choice, he is totally one of a kind. Does he always teach like this? Kevin, who had been completely quiet all day, asks. You just got here. Tyler sneers while packing his bag. You haven't seen anything yet. This guy is dangerous. Oh, and by the way, he takes phones. Tomorrow, either do not bring it or hide it like your life depends on it. He tortured us today. Tyler suddenly has an epiphany. To defeat this boss, sacrifices must be made. Tyler plans to buy a cheap burner phone as a sacrifice, but Kevin doesn't grasp how serious this is. Confiscating phones? Big deal. The next morning, Kevin bumps into Hazel at the bus stop as usual. Are you not going to say a word to me? Kevin pesters her until the bus arrives. Hazel finally speaks, her voice ice cold. You have a girlfriend, right? Girlfriend? Nah, we are just playing around. Kevin smirks. Hazel's expression turns glacial. If you have a girlfriend, please stay away from me. Tell her to stop acting like a rabid dog biting random people. With that, she boards the bus. Kevin follows her, still yapping. Is she bothering you? No way. She is an honor student and totally well behaved. She wouldn't dare mess with you. Hazel furiously jams her earbuds in, ignoring him. At the gates, Hazel gets off with Kevin trailing behind like a lost puppy. Say something, Hazel. Do you not understand, or are you pretending not to? Or are you actually stupid? Hazel stops dead and shoots him a frigid glare. You know exactly what is going on. Her words make Kevin freeze. You saw that change too, right? Kevin is totally confused because Hazel feels like a completely different person today. When the morning bell rings, Hazel stands in the hallway and gets blocked in the exact same spot. Vanessa, wearing her usual arrogant sneer, appears with her two cronies. Hazel remembers my lecture on self-defense. Gripping the straps of her backpack tightly, her voice is firm. Move, I need to get to class. Class? What class? Vanessa grabs Hazel's hair. Did you forget what I told you yesterday? Guess the lesson wasn't enough. The three of them drag Hazel into the first floor bathroom. Vanessa delivers a vicious slap, leaving a red mark over yesterday's bruise on Hazel's pale cheek. You ugly little rat, are you still playing dumb? Have you looked in a mirror lately? How dare you try to steal my man? Right then, my words echo in Hazel's mind. She unzips her backpack, looking directly into Vanessa's eyes. I never tried to steal your boyfriend. Still lying? Vanessa pulls out a box cutter, waving it in Hazel's face. You walk with him every day and say nothing is going on? Hazel lowers her head. I really didn't. Let you go? Get on your knees, bow 3 times, and then I will let you go. Vanessa pulls out her phone, recording Hazel's battered face. No, I did not do anything wrong. Hazel resists. Stop recording, please let me go. Vanessa raises the blade. Won't kneel? Fine, your face then. Suddenly, a piercing scream echoes. Vanessa drops her phone. Hazel pulls a solid steel ruler out of her bag, swinging it wildly. Why are you bullying me? What did I do wrong? She swings, screaming out all her pent-up trauma. I just want to be invisible. I just want to study in peace. Why won't you let me? Vanessa shrieks in panic. She has bullied Hazel countless times without any resistance. But this time, Hazel is fighting back like a cornered animal. Even with a blade, Vanessa is too terrified to use it. A tiny box cutter is no match for Hazel's long steel ruler. Within seconds, Vanessa's arms are covered in welts. Hazel knocks the box cutter away, grabs her uniform, and keeps swinging. Are you a psycho? Vanessa screams, finally breaking free and bolting out of the bathroom crying. She's crazy. Hazel went completely crazy. So, what do you and I take from this? Bullies are just paper tigers. Watching her run, Hazel smiles a deeply satisfying smile. They know fear, too. She realizes she actually has the power to save herself. Suddenly, the two cronies run straight to class 11A9, screaming that Vanessa got beat up. The honor students stare in shock. Miss Lamb, the homeroom teacher, rushes out. Vanessa is a top 10 student and a model scholar. Alright, you and I are diving into a wild school drama. When her student gets attacked, Miss Lamb demands to know who did it. Class 11A3, they reply. Hearing that, Miss Lamb grits her teeth. Of course, it is the trash from class 3. Today, she is going straight to the dean for payback. Honestly, almost every teacher in school absolutely hated class 11A3. They saw them as rich, spoiled troublemakers who bought their way in and ruined the school's name. Miss Lamb does not even notice the shady looks her students exchange, but by the time they hit the first floor, Vanessa's loud crying draws a whole crowd. Other teachers surround her, offering comfort. Poor girl to think this happened right here at our school. Talk about absolute moral decay. They demand severe punishment. Vanessa trembles, playing the victim, while a dozen disgusted teachers glare at poor Hazel as if she is nothing but trash. Class 3, right? Yep, the infamous troublemakers. Even though Hazel expected this hate, facing this wave of pure contempt makes her tiny spark of courage completely fade away. She lowers her head, quietly taking the nasty insults. But right then, a firm voice cuts through the crowd. Finally found you. The voice is steady, strong, yet incredibly gentle. Hazel looks up and sees me smiling at her. The bright morning sun shining right behind me. Oh my god, Vanessa, who did this? Miss Lamb rushes over, seeing the nasty red marks on Vanessa's arms. Her eyes practically burn with pure rage. She spins toward me. You are the homeroom teacher of class 3, right? Your student attacked mine. I am taking this straight to the top. Now pay attention. My voice goes freezing cold. You teach class 9? Good, because I am not letting this slide either. Miss Lam is stunned. Her anger boils right over. You are the new guy, right? Real good at shifting blame. The evidence is right in front of us, and you still dare to twist the truth. The other teachers immediately back her up. Exactly, we all saw that class 3 kid attack her. But facing this angry mob, I remain totally calm. What truth? What exactly happened here? Tell me. I look at those accusing teachers and ask if they saw it. Please give me a detailed play-by-play. My questions make them falter. Honestly, this whole situation is full of holes. Why were they even in the first floor bathroom during morning study hall? Plus, there were 3 girls from class 9 and only 1 from class 3. Hazel was completely outnumbered. Most importantly, nobody actually saw how the fight started. But Miss Lam declares righteously that Vanessa is a top 10 model student, so the truth is obvious. And your class? Well, I do not need to explain their awful reputation. Since she is so incredibly certain, I do not need to guess how she plans to spin this. Fine. Let's go see the Dean of Discipline and sort this whole thing out, I say coolly. With that, the entire crowd heads to the office. A fight first thing in the morning puts the Dean in a terrible mood. Speak what happened? He looks at Vanessa, promising to back her up completely. Go ahead, Vanessa, Miss Lam says, patting her shoulder. Vanessa clutches her arm, squeezing out a few fake, pathetic tears. She hides behind Miss Lam, shooting Hazel a smug, mocking glare before sobbing. This morning, my friends and I were walking past the first floor stairs. She stopped us, wanting to talk privately. I told her we were not close, but she insisted it was personal. So, I followed her into the bathroom. But before we could even talk, she went wild. She pulled a metal ruler out of her bag and started hitting me. She totally planned this. Hearing this, I just sneer at her. Lying straight to a room full of teachers without even sweating? Wow, she has some serious nerve. Vanessa panics and quickly looks down. Miss Lam immediately shields her, furious. Mr. Mark, do not falsely accuse my student. I know her excellent character. You and I both know that's ridiculous, right? So good grades mean you are physically incapable of lying? I just raise an eyebrow at her. Well, I graduated from an Ivy League school, speak 4 languages, and I am incredibly handsome. Does that mean I cannot lie either? She is left speechless, unable to argue. I laugh coldly. Just kidding. I am not actually the witness here. I look right at Miss Lam, but you know the real witnesses very well. It is her 2 best friends. I gesture to the door. Miss Lam, let Vanessa step outside for a minute. Let us hear what her friends say. Miss Lam is totally confident in Vanessa, so she sends her to the next room and calls the first friend in. The girl looks terrified when she does not see Vanessa. Miss Lam, what is going on? Nothing, I say quickly. Vanessa already confessed to everything. We just called you in to fill in the details. The girl panics. Confessed? What? She said you were the mastermind behind the whole attack, I say sternly. Seeing Miss Lam stay quiet, the girl completely breaks. It was her idea. Vanessa said Hazel tried to steal her boyfriend, so we had to teach her a lesson. I just went along with it. What? Miss Lam is totally shocked. Vanessa has a boyfriend? The girl nods, trembling, saying they have been dating for a month. So this morning, did you guys go looking for Hazel, or did she look for you? I press. The girl realizes her slip-up and shuts her mouth. Too late, the damage is done. Miss Lam's face is dark with fury. She takes a deep breath, calls the second girl, and tells the first to shut up. The second girl is even more timid. Crying, she spills everything, completely backing up the first girl's confession. Miss Lam finally gets it, but she is in total denial. Her star student, doing this, talk about a massive loss of face. She lowers her voice. This is not a one-sided issue. I need to investigate further. She knows this is not a simple attack, so she tries to sweep it under the rug. Hold on. We came all this way, and we are not leaving empty-handed. I look at the dean. Do you agree? Miss Lam tries to deflect. It is unclear. Let us check the security footage. No need. I cut her off. Your student is smart. She picked the exact blind spot of the cameras. Miss Lam secretly sighs in relief. Even if Vanessa is not perfect, she is still a top 50 student, a prime college candidate, and her own student. Naturally, she is biased. Stick with me, because this is about to get messy. Alright, you and I are diving into a school where good grades let you get away with literal assault like Vanessa, who the school wants to let off with a tiny warning. No cameras means no proof, Mrs. Lam sneered, protecting her favorite. But suddenly, Hazel, who had been hiding behind me in tears, stood up and found her voice. All eyes locked onto her. Peeking through her wet hair, her eyes burned with pure determination. Do not think you can make up stories without video proof, Mrs. Lam spat. Hazel looked at me, terrified. I just pulled her back and burst out laughing. Just because the school cameras missed it does not mean nobody else caught it, I said, pulling a digital camera from my bag. I bought this to take some basic campus scenery photos. Who knew I would catch something so juicy while testing the lens? I handed the camera straight to Mrs. Lam and the dean. The photos clearly showed Vanessa pulling Hazel by her hair, dragging her into the bathroom with her friends. Mrs. Lam turned completely pale seeing the proof, But even then, she still desperately tried to protect Vanessa. A massive scandal would ruin her upcoming big promotion. So she stammered, claiming both girls were still at fault here. Before she could finish, I slammed a massive pile of printed evidence right onto her desk with a loud, echoing bang. The sudden noise made Mrs. Lamb jump and stumble back. She looked horrified, as if she had just been slapped across the face. Complete silence. Miss Lamb stood frozen in pure shock. Meanwhile, the dean choked on his hot tea and scrambled for a napkin. I calmly adjusted my sleeves. Now, check out this brutal logic. They say a slap needs two hands to clap, right? By your very own logic, Miss Lamb, since you are getting publicly reprimanded right now, you must be totally at fault here too. Go look in a mirror and reflect. Miss Lamb was absolutely choking on her own fury. She wanted to scream, but the pile of proof and my heavy gaze kept her silent. She practically begged the dean for help with her eyes. He wiped his face, glanced between us, and cleared his throat nervously. He admitted that I made a very solid point. Survival at STR Academy was brutal, and the dean was no fool. He did not know my background, but he knew anyone bold enough to teach Class 11. A 3 was extremely dangerous. Miss Lamb lost all composure, her voice cracking. She asked how we would handle this, but the dean ignored her. He looked at me, saying the academy had a top-tier reputation to protect. We must handle a severe bullying case like this properly. The guilty will be punished, and the victims will get an apology. I raised my eyebrow at Miss Lamb and told her I hoped this wake-up call cleared her head so she would make the correct choice next time. I turned and walked away, with Hazel following quietly behind. She was stunned by how easily I had destroyed another senior teacher. She felt so incredibly safe with a badass teacher like him. Now, pay attention to this sudden question. I asked her if she had a boyfriend. She gasped and said no. I told her flatly that any guy who lets girls fight over him while hiding away is absolute trash. I told her to find an honorable man like me when she is ready. She nodded quickly, trying to hide a smile at how confident I was. Back in the office, the dean spoke up, saying he understood Mrs. Lamb's stressful situation. He knew she was worried about her promotion, but pointed out her students started the fight while Hazel was only acting in self-defense. Your student will write a public apology and go on probation, the dean said. Mrs. Lamb protested that Vanessa was hurt too, but the dean's voice dropped to a cold whisper. If you want that senior educator title to go through, you will do exactly what I say, he warned with a razor-sharp glare. She finally realized she had been totally cornered. Angry, she stormed out, while the dean went to find Vanessa in the next room. Vanessa thought she had won and was casually playing on her phone, but she jumped and dropped it when Mrs. Lamb burst in. She quickly hid her phone away, trying to read her teacher's mood, but Mrs. Lamb just glared back at her with absolute ice. I completely misjudged you, Mrs. Lamb said. You pretend to be an angel, but you are secretly bullying others. Vanessa quickly tried to deny it. She played the victim, her voice trembling. Normally, this act would work, but today her teacher just wanted to wipe that fake look off her face. Stop lying. I know everything. The other teacher has clear photos of you dragging Hazel to the bathroom. You are now officially on school probation. You will write an apology letter by second period. Once I approve it, you are going to apologize to her in front of everyone. The news hit Vanessa like a lightning strike. She stood paralyzed, wondering how he could have photos of a camera blind spot. Mrs. Lamb kept staring at her coldly. Vanessa finally broke down, crying and bowing her head to play the regretful student. She begged for one more chance, crying that she was just scared and did not mean to lie. This act usually saved her, but today it only made Miss Lamb feel utterly disgusted. The very next morning, Vanessa stood at the school microphone, crying heavily as she read her apology to Hazel in front of thousands of students. Her reputation as a perfect angel was totally destroyed. Down in the courtyard, Hazel smiled with pride and brand new confidence. The formerly quiet girl was now ready to shine with her incredible art talents, fully protected by her badass teacher. A few months later, thanks to Mark's wild punishments that targeted their psychological weak spots, making them solve complex chemistry to unlock their phones and use physics to drift cars, Class 11, a 3 completely transformed. The lazy rich kids were gone, and you and I are about to watch Tyler turn his gambling habit into pure statistical genius. Alright, you and I are finally seeing the payoff. Dylan became a translator, and Kevin mastered dynamics. During the final exams, Class 11, a 3 actually crushed it, landing in the top 5 and leaving the entire STR Academy completely speechless. Up in the principal's office, his sister Lucy slammed her desk in pure hype, shouting that Mark is a genius and tripling his salary. Now watch this. Looking out at his loud class as they bicker over making him a celebratory cake, Mark just smirks and exhales a puff of smoke. Going from a lazy rich Air Force to work, he completely turned this nightmare job into his playground. Maybe protecting these wild delinquents is actually a pretty great way to live. And that's where we leave it, guys. Thanks for watching.